Well, hello everyone, veterans, AKV employees, and everybody watching here at the Veteran Lane channel. Hey, welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome if this is your first video. We have another good video to educate in the VA disability realm for the process of making things smoother between veterans and VA alike. I've got so many videos to do, so much to still talk about, so many topics out there, so many things to iron out. But as I'm thinking about what video is next and what to create in this educational platform, I decided to go back to my roots. I wanted to go back to a moment in time where I trained multiple VA employees. I want to go back to a time where even I had to learn how to navigate part of that VA system before even teaching so many VA employees. And what I'm talking about is this M21-1 manual. This is a manual that the VA uses as guidance as into how to process disability claims. This guidance and this manual is so large that at one time it was nearly impossible, or felt to be nearly impossible, to search through and really properly navigate. Over time, the system became a little bit smoother, and I would like to believe that today it's even 100 times smoother than it was 2008 when I first started with the VA. Now, the M21 is public to all you veterans and everybody watching. So it's not just a tool that only the VA can see. And because of that, I feel this is a great opportunity to show everyone, or perhaps just remind the VA on how to navigate this M21-1 when it comes to finding information. And veterans, very great tool for you as well, because it gives you an insight, a look behind the doors of what VA is being told and how they're being guided when it comes to processing claims. Now, I don't agree with everything that's in this M21-1 when it comes to the legal aspect of everything, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. What I want to do is give you a full presentation as if I would have years ago teaching VA employees how to navigate the M21-1. So sit back, relax, take some notes, and let's get ready to discuss the M21-1. So this is the screen you're going to come to when you go to the public page for the VA references. Now you're going to find this in short at KNOWVA, which is KNOWVA, .ebenefits.va.gov. I'll put the link in the description so it's easier for you to find as well. But when we come to the screen, we're going to find that there's various topics listed to the left. We're going to see a search bar. We're going to see those topics up on top as well. And we're going to see a series of references that the VA can use. Now, is this an all-inclusive list of references? No, definitely not. But it does give you a good portion of references that the VA will be looking at. As we just place the mouse on top of the compensation and pension topic there, as I did, you'll see it turns kind of blue and starts listing out some of those references. Now again, not all inclusive, but it does give a good amount. We see the 38 CFRs. We see the M21-1 Adjudication Procedures Manual, which is what we're going to talk about today, as we just usually refer to it as the manual when working in the VA. So M21-1, or the manual, is what we'll be talking about today. We also have an M21-4 manual, which is more of a training manual. We have an M21-5, which is like an appeals manual there. And you'll see the rate tables, and you can even subscribe here so you can actually get emails of all the changes. So here's how this kind of functions. You've got multiple ways you can actually get to the topics in the M21. You can continue to just push your mouse across to this sub menu that popped out. And as you can see, when you push your mouse over and you scroll it over a topic there or a reference, another submenu pops out. Now, when we're on the M21-1, we get all the different chapters originally that pop out here. And if you got a steady hand, like I don't all the time, as you see there, sorry about that, then we can go down the parts. The parts will pop out the subparts and the historical sections for those parts. You'll get the subparts into the chapters. And the chapters you'll have to click on to continue getting the information that's in those. Now, this is one way to navigate it. Now, this isn't my favorite way because for those of us veterans who don't have, or even VA employees don't have the steadiest of hands, this could become an annoyance and a nuisance. I had to go through this really slow because, as you're seeing, even my hand can get a little shaky and dart off in the mouse into weird spots. And then you're like, oh, I got to start all over. So if that's you, no worries. We can always come back, put the mouse on top of the compensation and pension, and give it a little click of the mouse, there, and you'll see that all of those same references now appear right here for us to select. So we can go into the M21-1 Adjudication Procedures Manual, or the manual, and we can click on that. What we see now is we're getting the same thing. Like, remember when we're over here scrolling across, we had the parts first after we had the reference. Well, we clicked on the manual and we now have the parts. If we click on the parts, we're going to get the subparts and so forth. It's going to keep going. So there's definitely a couple ways of navigating to the topic that you're ultimately looking for in the M21 or in the manual. You're going to hear me interchange those terms all the time. For this demonstration, let's take a peek at these parts and kind of look at how some of these are laid out. One thing I feel you're going to start noticing is when you're in this more, especially, that these parts are mainly designed to be laid out now in a fashion that makes sense in the claims processing world. It seems like way back ago, these parts are just kind of everywhere, and they're definitely hard to follow. But here, as you see, you start with the claimant's rights, and you start with some claims processing center programs. And then we start talking about the intake and the claim establishment and so forth there. Then we start talking about the development process. Well, part of the development process could be exams. So we have an examination section that stands on its own because there's so much information to consider in those. And then once you're done with all this development and you're done with the exams, you've got the rating process. And then once the rating process is done, you've got the authorization process. So these parts right here easily flow with the process of the claim. Veterans, you have a series of rights. Well, there's your rights first. Once you file a claim, that claim is going to get taken into the VA system. It's going to be established in the VA system, and jurisdiction, so forth, and all that's going to be figured out. Now, we have a development process that happens next. What is the evidence that needs to be obtained? What the notification letters may need to go to the veteran, and so forth. And we'll see that as we open all this up. And then examinations, if we're ready for those, what needs to be done. Once that development is done, it goes to the rater. It goes to that rating process. That rating process ends. Once the decision is made, it has to go back to a authorization stage in order to be finalized and money paid out if there is money to be paid. So that's what you see right here. Now, after this is done, usually what's an afterthought is things like dependency. So veterans, as you may know, and VA, as you know, there could be additional money paid if you got 30% or above overall evaluation. So maybe to a spouse, maybe to a child. How old can that child be? What happens when they go to school? What if they're considered a helpless child? And we start finding that dependency has its own section here. Now, there could also be special monthly compensation issues that appear after all this. So it starts flowing into those there. We're also going to follow into the pension benefits that probably most of us never talk about because it's not as applicable to so many anymore. But it's still a benefit there. It's an income-based benefit, and it pays a lot less, and I think that's what makes it not as applicable anymore. But yes, it's there, and there's also survivors' benefits, which is definitely applicable. So we definitely want to take in consideration that those survivors' benefits are in here as well. Then you start getting into, again, A lot of other stuff in here. That DIC is a survivor benefit. It stands on its own, really big, separated from there because there's so much information, and it's the main claim ultimately that we see when it comes to that survivor benefit. But as you can see, it just flows, and we got some other stuff in here that's not going to make sense veterans to you necessarily, like these matching programs and stuff, because it doesn't really involve your claim directly. It's going to really speak to the VA. But feel free, definitely check them out. Read through them and see if you can make sense of them. Maybe you'll find something to grab a hold of there. But that's the basic flow of it. It's really flowing with the claims process, and that breaks out a lot of these bigger items and parts and topics separately that have a lot more information involved in them, a lot more rules and so forth. So let's start with this. Let's take a peek at how this works. Let's start with the part 1. It is claimant's rights, so we click on that. We always get our historical sections. We get a subparts here. This has got 2 subparts: claimant's rights and responsibilities, claims processing centers and programs. Well, let's start with the claimant's rights. When we're in here, we can see we have a legal authority, we have a power of attorney, we have other information and disclosures. Since I'm a VA accredited attorney, that makes me a power of attorney when I'm representing veterans as the VA sees it. So let's click on that one and let's take a peek at this. Usually what you're going to start noticing when we go through these is you're going to get a general information section. Kind of like how law likes to put a general section in front in a way of giving you definitions and so forth. You're also then going to start going into the topic itself, a representative's right to notification and review of records, and then telling the VA how to update their systems when there is a representative on record. So let's get a better idea. Let's do section A here, the general information on power of attorney. Every time you click into one of these sections, you're going to have a topic chart at the beginning. These are hyperlinked. You can jump straight to those topics by clicking on any of these inside the document. If one of these topics look like or are what you're looking for, it's usually much easier that way. But if you're not quite sure if those topics land where you want them to, you can still always scroll through the document and look through what the VA has in their guidance here. Now, what's nice when you do scroll through, here's some other key features. Now here we start with topic 1, VA representation. There's always an introduction up there, and it starts breaking down what its subtopics are inside of this main topic. So again, hyperlinked, you can click to it, and it'll go right down to the spot in the document for you. Now I'm not going to do that in this here, so I'm not doing a bunch of moving and scrolling around, but definitely understand that you can do that. You'll see this change date here. You can see this on all of them. This one here was last changed February 19th, 2019. So this topic here underwent some sort of change on this date here in February. Does it mean the whole topic changed? No, it could just be a small section of it had changed. Maybe some of it got moved somewhere, something else got implemented in here, complete verbiage change altogether, rule change of some sort could have altered the way some of this reads. But do know, this was the last time it was changed, and that's still current today. These are your citations that you get right here. So remember, we walked into the chapters, the subchapters, and the parts, and we keep going into the topics and all that. So this is topic 1, and this is subtopic A underneath the 1. Claimant's right to representation is your title on this one. They'll always give you a little title here of what that topic is or subtopic is. And then they'll start telling you, like in this one here, that the VA's policy is that all claimants have the right to representation before the department in claims affecting the payments of benefits or relief. So not only is it policy, it's law, but it does tell you that veterans, you are entitled to representation, and VA has to recognize that. You'll find sometimes some additional references for more information. You can always click on these and it'll usually open a new window or tab, depends on how your internet is set up. Sometimes it refers you back to another part of a manual reference. But before clicking on these, I always like to look at them and see, is it in the same part we're already in? And as you'll see, this one happens to be, and it's going to be down here in D. So we can always scroll down in it. Now, again, it's going to keep going through its little subtopics here. and it's going to give you some information there. We get down to 2 here. I'm going to scroll back up for a second. Yep, okay. I want to make sure because 2, sorry. So 2D is where we wanted to go. Just in case you were looking at that going, where's the D? The 2D is in the sections where we're at for that link there. So that's where that link would have took you to, was down here lower in this document. But as you can see, again, we've got appointing of representation as our topic. We get an introduction to that topic. We get a change date for this topic. And we get the subtopics down here. Sometimes you'll even see little charts here to help go if and then kind of things, like if this, then that. Type of representation, an accredited representative of a VSO, agent, or attorney. So the requirements must obtain recognition from VA's Office of General Counsel, OGC, in order to represent claimants. So refer any person or group wanting to represent claimants to OGC for accreditation. And so to represent you veterans, accreditation is required underneath the laws and the rules. So if there's anybody else who says they're going to represent you or file your paperwork for you, make sure they're accredited, because otherwise VA will not be able to talk to them, or they won't have access to your file, for example there. Now, there are exceptions, of course. A non-licensed individual can on a one-time basis. So there are other rules there, but for the main part, just know accreditation is usually required and highly recommended. Now, let's stay on topic at this point before I veer off someplace else and all that knowledge in my head. We again get our subtopics. They keep going here, and we keep going, and we keep going. This tells the VA what needs to be done for this topic. But this is the setup that you're going to see in all the topics as we kind of peek at a couple more. Now, here, this is a good one actually here. So we get a subtopic 3, representation of incompetent claimants. Down here, again, you got your introduction, but look at your change date. So this is no longer that February date in 2019. So that means something inside this topic had changed in March 20, 2025. And now, by looking at this, we won't know what that is. And we'll go back and look at how to tell what that information was. But understand that if you had a claim, veterans that was pending, or even VA, if you had a claim that you were working on or even got submitted before March 20th, 2025, the guidance and the rules may have been different back then when it was first filed. And this section may not apply completely because there was a change after the fact. But keep in mind now, anything after March 20th, 2025 was going to fall underneath this guidance here. Again, we get the references. You'll see this here. Again, not underneath all of them, like this one doesn't have one. But if you do have the references, they usually cite to some CFRs here, some other manual references. Every now and then you get a court case the VA picks out, which can be helpful. And then we just keep going. You can see again we got a different change date for even this topic here. So let me do a really quick scroll down to the bottom here for you to show you something. So if I make you dizzy, I apologize, or just close your eyes for just about 2 seconds. Okay. So we're down on the bottom here. When we get to the bottom, you can always hit next section or previous section down here. Or you can jump back to the top if you're on the bottom, so you don't have to scroll all the way up. But down here, I want to point out, see, we had some of those change dates. We have attachments on the bottom that give you the dates here with key changes on them, and kind of cites that topic inside the reference. You can even look up the historical one at the time, so you can click on these to actually see what those changes are when we see those change dates. So, for example, there's that March 20th, 25 one. It'll tell you what those key changes are. These will open up in Word documents here. As you can see, it's a Word document extension. So these will all open up in Word. I don't want to do that here just because I don't want to get too confusing with all my screens, but do understand that here's how you can see those changes. You can see the historical one. You can see the key changes document there. And then some related articles. Kind of throw those in there for you to tell you when they're updated and all that. All right. Now I'm going to go back here. I'm just going to hit my back button here. There's more than one way of doing this, but I'm going to hit my back button. I land back here in our sections here, A, B, and C. We can click through these and we'll see that they're set up pretty much the same way. Now let's just click this one for the heck of it here. You're going to see again, here's the topics. You're going to see the handling of POA appointments. There's our topic, our introduction with all those there, our change date, and we're going to keep going. It's the same setup on every page. Now this topic here I only clicked on because it gives you an idea of how the VA is instructed to update their systems. So I'm going to click actually onto here, updating electronic systems for POA, and it's going to jump me down right to that topic. Once we're on this topic, again, the introduction, the change dates, and so forth, and this is going to start walking through, explaining to the VA how to update things. Now you may see some links in here for these user guides. Unfortunately, VA has not given these user guides public access from my experience. When I click on these, I'm pretty sure it's going to tell me no, right? It says no, not happening, can't get in there. So there'll be one problem you're going to have there, veterans and VA, if you're trying to get to this information out there in the public, outside of the VA systems. Now if you're inside the VA system, those links work because all that stuff is inside your firewalls and stuff, so inside your network. So you can see that there. You can see I've been in here before, and I've clicked on something before, but it's all the same setup. We're going to scroll, well, instead of scrolling up the top, let's go ahead and go back again. And see, this time it took me back to the top of the page because that's where I was. We can hit back again. Now, if at any moment, instead of going from here and constantly hitting the back button, we can come up here and say, okay, well, I'm done with part 1. Let's go back to all the parts, and you can actually click on the spot you want to go. So now you can see I clicked on the M21-1 Adjudication Procedure Manual, and I have all the parts back in front of me. Now we can talk about the intake process here too. We can click on those, the development process, and all that stuff. Let's take a peek at, as this video is going to go, this presentation is going to go a little bit longer than usual, but let's go ahead and take a peek at this rating process. So this is part 5. We can click on the rating process here. And again, we see that historical piece. We see these subparts here. Now, preparation of claims for the rating activity is one subpart. We got decision making. We got applying the scheduler or schedule for rating disabilities. And we got completing rating decisions. So all this is going to be talking to that rater, to that rating board member, to that decision maker. One thing I'm going to highlight here is this subpart 3. Veterans, you may want to take a peek at this. And VA, don't forget this is here because sometimes this is helpful. Again, is it 100% accurate underneath the law? In my professional opinion, no. But it gives a decent idea of a starting point. So when you click on it, what you see is there are some guidance for various, if not all, body systems here to the VA. So let's say mental disorders in chapter 13 here. We can click on that there. And we can look at that. Again, same layout, all the same layout. I think I forgot to mention before, I mentioned on the bottom part of the page, but you can also get the previous section, the next section from the top of the page. You can also see an updated, when this is last updated, here, May 28th, 2025. Again, we get our whole layout here. Here's our change date for this topic here. And here's our first subtopic. So sympathetic reading in the scope of mental disorder claims. So a claim for a particular mental disorder should be read as a claim for any mental disorder that may be reasonably defined by, again, the description of the claim or the symptoms that the claimant describes or the information and evidence that the claimant submits, and any other the information and evidence obtained. So this is going to go into for VA, helping them understand that a claim for any mental condition is really a claim for all mental conditions. And you can see we've even started citing court cases and stuff here. If you click on these, when you run across them, you're going to get what they call a DAD, a decision assessment document. So this is just the VA's summary that they've put together. It can be helpful, but I would highly recommend finding the entire case. As you see, there's a link on this one where you can actually click, and again, not to, well, apparently VA's links are bad. This is public information. You can go to the KEVIC website and pull most of these up if it's not too old. I don't know. This one would be on the page. This one's in 2009, so this one's on the page. So unfortunately, hey, government doesn't always have all their links working. But understand, you do have the citation up here. You can always push that into Google or whatever your search engine you use and find that full text, because these are public. Or you can go to Kavik and you go down through and navigate their website for the opinion. But in short, this one will give you some definition here a little bit. My concern with it is written in favor of the VA, and legal cases typically are not one-sided. In many cases that I deal with, and a lot of times here we may find that they leave out some stuff that might be beneficial. Not saying they do. Sometimes they get it right and they put the beneficial stuff in here, because it does change. As you see, there might be an impact on their manual change or some rules or something there. But just know, the point is it's there if you click on it. I'm going to go ahead and click back. Each one of these, all sections, will do something like that, and it'll talk about each individual section with special guidance for these chapters here. Again, hey, let's just say you want to go back to the rating process this time. Instead of going all the way back, you can just click that up there along that menu there, and you're back here at these subparts. We can talk about the decision making, or we can talk about maybe completing the rating decision. Different parts there. Just to show you, when we click any of these historical spots here, you'll start getting the subpart 1s and 2s or anything that were in there. This one actually happened to have 4 historical subparts, so you can actually click on those and see what those were said at one time if you so desire. These happen to be all last updated around September of 2021, so you can get that too. Now, at any time, if you forget, this little menu is up here to get there. You can still scroll back across to your topics on the left-hand side. You can still click on any one of these and get back to that menu here. Now, there's a couple different ways of searching too, and I think searching was always the part that was difficult, especially early on, because the search function was really, really bad for what I experienced. It definitely was no Google at the time, and it may still struggle a little bit today. It's definitely no AI. I heard a lot of people trying to use AI, but understand it does not have that functionality in it. Doesn't make it a bad thing, it just doesn't have it. So if you search in this bar up here, you're going to be searching all of the references. So let's say, well, I've tried a few here. Let's do TDIU, for example. If we typed in TDIU here and we hit go, or we hit enter in this case here, excuse me, sorry about that. If you punch in the TDIU there, you're going to find all the searches for the M21-1. You're going to find the searches for the CFR that are in there. That's the CFR reference, CFR Part 4, M21. But I think you take my point here. If you search up there, you're going to get searches for every section where TDIU shows up. So this can be helpful. Can definitely lead you maybe to the right direction. It'll even give you the historical parts here, recented parts. Again, a lot of historical parts. It'll give you some stuff that doesn't even coincide with your search, unfortunately. So this is helpful, but can still be a little, I think, off-putting just because of how much it gives you. But in this case here, effective TDIU or IU on VA benefits, you're at least able to click it, and it'll go into, again, that manual M21 reference here and talk about all that here. Again, same layout that we've seen over and over. Again, recent changes on this one too. Now this happens to be effects of individual incarceration on Department of Veterans Affairs. I apologize, I read that so fast. I read that wrong. So kind of interesting, right? I mean, here's the incarceration part, but we asked about TDIU. So here's a trick I do. I go down my keyboard, I hit that control button, and I hit the F button here. We'll get a drop down usually, and I can just type in again TDIU, and then we can see where TDIU was actually stated inside here. Or you can scroll down and wait until you find the highlight there. But 8 times in here, we can even click through that, see where it's at. So effective incarceration on ratings of TDIU. So maybe that's not what you're looking for. Maybe it's off base. We can go back a couple times here. That's just kind of one of the problems with the search function, is it gives you an overwhelming information of every location for the most part, that your search word exists. One thing I would recommend, that don't put too many words in there, because as you can see, just one word populated so much, or even one acronym there. You get too many words in there, it will get confused. It's not your typical search engine, and you may never find what you're looking for. Now, let's say we come down here, search within this topic here. We're in the M21, and we type in, well, difference of opinion this time here. Let's do that, just because I've done that before. I'm wondering what a difference of opinion is. So I want to know, what does the M21 say the difference of opinion is. See, as you see here, we're going to get all M21 references. We don't have the CFR references, which there is a CFR reference telling you what a difference of opinion is, but it's not going to show up here because we didn't put it in the big search. We get only the M21 pieces here. But again, if you'll notice, it's not showing me just difference of opinion. This is what happens when we put in more than one word. It's showing me difference and opinion. Here, this is talking about medical opinions. Here, this has just got the word different in it. So you really have to have a better understanding sometimes, I think, when it comes to the search functionality. And I think that's why I like the way the manual is designed now, where it flows a little bit better in the way the parts and chapters and everything are set up. So this just gives you a little overview on how to work it here. You have to really finagle this piece here, but let's just try it for the fun of it. I haven't done it before because I'm pretty familiar with the manual now, that I don't need to do it this way. But let's see how this functions. Let's say if we put the quotes there and we put that difference of opinion right there, and we put the quotes on there, and we search inside the M21. I think we do a lot better here. As you can see, now it's putting it all together. So that's just another trick that you might be able to do here. And now you can see they're all there. Yeah, that's a lot cleaner. Looks like we got rid of the exam opinion ones. So just different tricks of the trade there that you've got to do in order to find your way through this manual here. So I'm just going to click back here at the beginning. This gets us, again, back to our various references here. So anytime you're in here, take a peek at these other references too. They're very good to have. But that's my overview of your M21-1, how to navigate it, the way it's set up, the search functions that are involved, how it can pull up from multiple different references as well. So I thank you, everybody, for bearing with me on this presentation here. I know it's a little bit longer, maybe a little bit drier, but understand this is public. Veterans, you can access this too. You can see what the VA sees, except for some of those user guides. You can definitely get into court cases, summaries here of what the VA has used to cite as a court case. Understand those cases are not the only ones that may talk about those topics. So CAVIC website would be where I recommend digging through some of those. With that, thank you so much again, and I will see you or give you another presentation next Tuesday on VA disability. Remember, veterans, if you are in need of any representation, veteranlang.com is where my calendar is. Go ahead and schedule some time there. We are VA accredited, so that allows us to do work for veterans across the nation and actually global wide when it comes to VA disability. VA, as always, I know there might be a little bit of a gray line there for you, maybe an uncomfortable line, because it does feel like we're on separate playing fields, and even though we sit across each other from the table, doesn't mean we can't work together and make sure that we actually get the veterans the benefits they need in a lot smoother process. So if there is any training that you would like assistance with, hey, just remember I'm here to provide that for you as well. So again, thank you, everybody, and I will see you next Tuesday. Have a wonderful day.